Hey everybody, welcome back to Reissued. If you're new here, my name is Andrew. Today we're going to be carrying on in part 2 of the porch makeover. My parents and I are going to be doing a lot of work this week to finish it up and get all the projects ready so that we can do the final reveal. If you have not seen my porch makeover part 1 video, pause this video, go check that out now. You gotta know where we started to know where we're going. So in this video, we're going to be finishing up a lot of the painting that needs to happen on the front porch, as well as some various DIY projects, including a free bench that I found on the street that I'm going to be covering with some free leather that I found in the trash. I'm also going to talk a little bit about styling the space and sort of combining various styles to kind of create something that feels personal and eclectic as opposed to sort of falling into one specific style. Before we get started, if you get to the end of this video and you decide that you like it, please hit the like button. Also, if you want to see more makeover videos, DIY, upcycle, home projects, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button. All right, porch makeover part 2, let's do this. Okay, so at this stage of the makeover, today is going to be mostly about painting, wood fill, caulking, just sort of wrapping up some loose ends and trying to finish as many of those elements as possible. We're probably going to start on some of the smaller projects as well, getting the kind of accessory elements ready to go with the swing and maybe the bench. But yeah, there's been a lot of painting on this one, and so the painting continues.
So much painting. I mentioned in the last video that I was thinking of taking the cream colored decadent that is all over my interior into the exterior around the windows to integrate inside and outside and soften some of the harsh white. I love how this effect looked when I tried it out last week, so we're taking it across the whole front. I'm also loving the decision to go blue on the windows, especially on this side of the porch that won't end up with much furniture or artwork. It would have been real white without this blue-gray accent. To make the Moravian Starlight fixture functional, we needed to run an extension cord, which meant hiding the giant plugs under this metal plate, attaching a cord cover along the ceiling, and slipping the cord under the vinyl siding, partly to help it reach and partly to cover it up. Finally, the vinyl is good for something.
Okay, so next up we're going to tackle the bench project. This is a wood bench that I found kind of falling apart on the street in my neighborhood. We have done some work to glue it back together, and we cut a plywood piece to go in the bottom that we're going to be upholstering today. This leather I got off of a sofa that was at the Habitat for Humanity restore that was about to go into the dumpster, and so I cut most of the leather off it. If you watched my leather hardware video when we did the half bath makeover, this is that same leather. And then I also have some cotton batting and this like foam mattress pad. My mom bought this to use to upholster some outdoor chairs, and so we're gonna try to use the combo of these today to give this a little bit of padding and just to make it a little bit more cushy. The piece of leather that we're using came off the back of the sofa, so it's nice and flat already, but it does have these seam lines. So we'll just have to be sure that everything is lined up with one seam in the center and working out from there to make sure they're evenly distributed throughout the top.
I started by cutting a piece of the mattress pad foam to fit the plywood seat. We ended up putting the smaller cut-off piece under the one I cut to fit to add a little more cushion. No batting needed this time, since the foam and leather provided a smooth enough wrap around the edges. Was our upholstery process a little haphazard? Sure. But the key thing was to get everything wrapped tight and stapled frequently to provide a smooth and even look. And after a couple little adjustments off camera, we got just that.
All right, we're back. Big projects today are gonna be sanding and finishing the door, which I'm dreading. Also, we're gonna hang this DIY rain chain today. It is raining today, so it's kind of a good time to test out to see how that works. I'm not too interested in it being super functional. I wouldn't ordinarily go out and buy a rain chain. That was not the point. I just found this at Goodwill. However, since we have it, since it's going up, we might as well try to make it as functional as possible. So we're gonna see how that works as well. Since we freshly painted the front porch here, there is a bird that is dying to build its nest right here in this corner. It had accumulated a bunch of mud and stuff. We cleaned it all out yesterday and got out here today, and it's all back. So yeah, we're gonna clean that out again, hopefully deter it. I want it to build a beautiful home, just not here on my beautiful home.
Let the sanding commence. And more painting. But mostly sanding. A combination of an orbital sander, vibrating sander, and lots of hand sanding to get in all the grooves pushed us across the finish line for door prep. It was tedious and awful in every way, but I think the result is pretty incredible.
All right, so I think this is about as good as the door is gonna get. There's still a few places where there's a little bit of paint and residue, but the stained polyurethane combo that I'm gonna put over the top should kind of glaze over those, hopefully. I debated going in with a marker and kind of coloring in some of those lighter areas, but I think we're just gonna go with it as is. More than anything, I think it just feels like time to get some stain on this, time to put it back up and see how it looks. Hopefully it'll all work out.
I've used this stained poly combo on several projects before, and I thought it would be great for this door since it does kind of gloss over some of the little problem areas, rather than soaking in and exposing every little patch and scratch. However, it dries super quickly and will pill up and peel if you go over it while it's tacky. So I had to work very quickly and or wait until each area was completely dry before going over any patchiness. I also had to be very mindful of any puddles or drips, since those will dry that way and create an uneven finish. This was kind of stressful. After one coat, there were a few uneven areas, but with the second coat, I think the door looks fantastic.
Okay, so now I'm gonna get started on the rain chain. I'm using this decorative chain piece that I found at Goodwill for $6, and I'm gonna be extending that with some like light fixture chain that I found at the REISSUED for $2. I'm gonna do about a foot of normal chain at the top and then the pretty decorative part and then finish out the rest with chain. Hopefully it will reach all the way to the ground. We'll see.
In order to connect the chain, I needed to fashion an extra jump ring out of some stiff wire that I had on hand. And with a bit of copper pipe stuck up under the corner piece on the roof, the rain chain is done. New day, more painting. This time I'm painting a clear polyurethane on the porch swing to make it more weatherproof and to enhance the natural color of the wood.
So I'm out here touching up various areas, and it occurred to me, you know, trends have been on my mind a lot. I talked about trends some in the kitchen video, and clearly that's a hot topic because that video has had a ton of views and a lot of comments, which I appreciate. If you're new here because of that video, welcome. But a couple of things came to mind out here about trends that I'm specifically not following on this project and the reasons why I'm choosing not to. Two things. So firstly, over here on these windows, I actually decided to have the molding be a different color than the beadboard and the part that surrounds the windows. This was kind of a happy accident, I guess, because I was gonna do the cream around the windows on the other side. And then once I did that on this side, then it was a weird thing of like, do I paint the whole area? Do I paint just that molding section and not the beadboard? And ultimately I decided this looked the best. Right now, it seems like everyone is painting the walls and the moldings and everything kind of one color rather than having the molding be a contrast. And I actually really like the way that that looks. I think that's a really classic look. And I think it also brings an element of modernism. I'm gonna be doing that actually all throughout my house, but here, this was a specific instance that I felt that given what I had here, that having the trim and the walls be a different color really worked best to give a little bit of definition and to make the most of the colors that I'm using in this space. And the second thing is with the floor color. So I'm definitely taking this from a really cool bluish gray to more of a warm gray. You may know that gray is out. Personally, I have been susceptible to the way the trends kind of shift over. You know, we were in everything all gray all the time, and now we're much in like everything all white and beige and cream all the time, and welcome, we're here. But for the porch floor, I wanted to go with gray for two reasons. One, I think that gray on a porch floor is very traditional, and so I wanted to kind of take those traditional elements like the blue ceiling and the gray floor and kind of turn them on their head a little bit and give them something that felt a little bit more my style. But also I have this stonework on the front steps, and I felt like if I took the floor to a more beige color or to a darker charcoal color, those were kind of the things I was toying with, that this stonework would feel completely detached from anything else. And so I ended up pulling this warmer gray color from the stonework that I think is going to make that feel really integrated. So we're going gray. I think that gray was the most appropriate choice here, despite the way that trends have kind of shifted over. Again, I'm all about choosing what works best and what is most appropriate for the space. Sometimes that aligns with the trends, sometimes not so much.
All the details are coming together. And that brings us to another round of Skimp or Splurge. Some skimps to start. I love the carpet tile rug that I made for the atrium, but I thought it might work better in this space. Some basic off-the-rack modern house numbers from Lowe's. Nothing too fancy. Really the only splurges in this space were the Schlage handle on the door. I spent a bit more for the square backplate since I thought it needed some extra presence, and the initial construction work that was done on the porch. Rebuilding the whole roof area while preserving the original beadboard ceiling was definitely not a DIY job, and it was a very expensive order between labor and materials. But it was necessary, and it will last a long time with a new metal roof and the more durable hardy plank construction. So now we skimp on literally everything else. The paint bought during the Memorial Day sale and at the REISSUED, the bench that was free off the street, the Moravian star that was in my grandma's attic, rain chain, crate and barrel mirror, and frame artwork that I will customize at a later date, all came from Goodwill. The rocking chairs, swing, metal side table, and console table that will eventually be repaired with a new tiled top were all REISSUED finds. Pots were purchased on liquidation or thrifted, and although the lemongrass and citronella were full price at Lowe's, the lavender was on clearance. Finally, the Bauhaus-inspired doormat was an IKEA find that I painted for the Painted Rugs video ages ago. It's so satisfying to finally see it with all the right pieces around it, especially the front door. No more orange and red.
Okay, so we're back a couple days later. It's raining like crazy today. So even though we had aimed to sort of put another coat on the porch and finish things up today, not sure how much of that is going to be possible. We'll see what the before and after actually looks like and how much is actually done. My parents came over yesterday and did a bunch of work on the house when I was at work. Shout out to them. I know sometimes you all mention them in the comments. Those are my parents. They help me a lot with my projects. I would not be able to do this without them. Together we make a really great team, and I'm so grateful to have them along with me in this process. So yeah, they were here yesterday doing a lot of paint touch-ups, finishing the first coat on the floor paint, and that gets us to where we are today. As I start to put all of the elements together, sort of a question came to mind for me. So on the kitchen video, I got a lot of comments from people saying, don't worry about trends, do what you love, put things you love in your space. I love that, I agree. The question then becomes, how do we put things together in our space? How do we curate in such a way that it feels aesthetically pleasing, right? I think we all know it's very possible to put a bunch of things that we like together into a space and somehow it doesn't work out. So it got me thinking about how I'm organizing things as they go into the space. How do I decide which pieces go where and which things can really fit together? And so what I've really come up with here as the rain picks up, all right, I moved inside since the rain was getting pretty crazy and my arm was getting tired. If I could put everything that I'm thinking about in one word, it would be balance. Balance when it comes to the style of what I'm incorporating into the space, balance when it comes to tone, and also balance when it comes to scale. Does everything feel like it's about the same size, or is there variation between bigger things and smaller things? So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, I think, in future videos, but throughout my house, I've been sort of dividing all of the things that I love into kind of like 4 categories. Classic / traditional, which I feel really encapsulates my home. It's, you know, the moldings, it's the beadboard. It's those timeless kind of elements that also could read kind of stuffy, if not not paired with other things. Second, I have mid-century / geometric. I've always been a mid-century lover even before it was trending, and I also love geometric shapes, clean lines, so there's that kind of category. I also have what I'm calling architectural salvage, which is sort of like my porch wood range hood, the bench on the front porch, these elements that are kind of distressed, but in less of a like farmhouse way and in more of a like found objects, like reclaimed type feel. And then finally, I have kind of like what I might call a punk, badass, artsy kind of feel, which is mostly displayed in my collection of art, either things that I've made or things that I love. Those are a little bit more wild with color, more pop art, more graphic, more like edgy. And that is a really important part of my style and kind of gives everything a little bit of an edge. So as I've been styling the porch, I've been careful to kind of incorporate all 4 of those elements in and try to keep something balanced. And when it comes to tone, the light and darkness of things, and the scale, I've been playing around a lot today with moving things around, trying different pieces, especially with the side table that's going in between the 2 chairs. I still don't have that figured out. I think I'm just gonna go with something for the final reveal. Y'all can let me know what you think about it. The white table for me just feels a little basic, to be honest. I'm pretty sure it came from like At Home or something like that. I think it would look better as a piece to be painted in a kind of bronze color, but I think if I took it to that place on top of the rug in between the chairs, it would just feel too dark and it would all start to feel really heavy right there together. Again, creating the balance of the light and the dark there is really important. Also, scale was a big deal for that table. All of the elements on that side with the porch swing and the chairs and the rug and the painting, they feel kind of like they're about the same size. Everything's kind of big and blocky. So I wanted with the table to have something that was more small and a little bit more detailed. Not sure that I'm achieving that with this specific table. Let me know what you think. All right, everybody, my front porch is done. We're going to use the term done very loosely because I know that the styling and everything is going to continue to evolve over time, as it should. Just yesterday, I found some Pottery Barn pillows and a vintage lamp that might need some work at the REISSUED. So yeah, finding new things all the time. But for today, we have a finished product and I can't wait to show you guys. Summer is here. Welcome to my front porch.